Now, whenever he puts pressure on your knight, you generally want to bring your bishop back to e7 like I did. Because if you don't, let's say you play something like a6, then once he takes your knight, right, you have this open file and you have double pawns. So potentially he could basically put pressure on your open king. Hello, welcome back to the Chess Mindset. In this video, I'll be analyzing a game that I played with a 94 accuracy using the Caro Kann Defence. So you can see here that I managed to get an accuracy of 94. Right, and my opponent has an accuracy of 87.3, so this game was pretty good. And you can see down below the game rating for me it was 2100 and for my opponent it was 2000. It's going to be a very instructive video, and so if you're a beginner and you like the Caro Kann Defence, then this video will be very helpful for you. So let me know if you guys want to see the evaluation bar alongside these analysis videos, but for this one I'm not going to show the evaluation bar. But anyway, let's get started with the analysis. So my opponent starts off with e4, I play c6, the Caro Kann Defence, and he plays knight f3, which is a normal developing move, and then I play d5. So when you're playing the Caro Kann, no matter what they do, you pretty much always just want to play c6 and then d5. Regardless if they develop that knight here, if they push d4, like pretty much you're going to blitz these moves out no matter what. My opponent takes. Now keep in mind this is a rapid game, so it's a 10-minute game with no increment. So he takes the pawn and I take back, and now he plays bishop to d3. Now this move is a little bit odd because it kind of blocks in this pawn so that your dark square bishop can't really develop. Usually I would expect something like d4 so that this dark square bishop can come out and also this light square bishop can come out. So a little bit of an unusual move, but once again it's fine. And now I play bishop to g4, so I'm basically pinning this knight, right? And this is going to be a very common idea in Caro Kann Defence, where you have to pin this knight no matter what, right? And basically you want to bring this bishop out, pin this knight, and then lock it behind this pawn chain with e6, right? And basically you're going to create a very solid pawn structure. And basically since these pawns will be on light squares, his light square bishop won't really do much because it will sort of be repelled by these pawns, so he can't really do anything. Especially when I castle kingside, he can't really break through with his light square bishop. So my opponent castles, logical move, and now I finish off my pawn chain with e6. So now I've created this very nice pawn chain, and he goes back with bishop to e2. So basically he's unpinning his knight now. But the thing is, like, even if he moves his knight, I can still just take this bishop, and because his queen is there, when I take the bishop, his queen will be under attack, so he has to respond to that first, and then I can deal with the knight or wherever he moves it. So I develop my knight to c6, again a very common idea in the Caro Kann, just want to develop your knight, right? You pretty much always want to develop your knights to these squares. Now he plays h3, kicking out my bishop, and usually when they kick out your bishop with h3, you always want to take, because if you like drop it back here, now I know that's the best move, but like for beginners I would recommend just taking the knight, because if you keep your bishop here, you do run into a few problems where in the future they could actually move this knight out of the way, and because your bishop is undefended, nothing's actually defending your bishop, it could become vulnerable to attacks like these, and then you're gonna have to deal with the knight as well. So that's why I recommend just taking the knight. And my opponent takes back with the bishop, and now I play knight to f6. So basically just normal developing moves, right? Controlling the center, nothing crazy. Now I do have this knight idea, but the thing is, like, even if I take the bishop, that just helps my opponent develop his queen, so it doesn't really do much for me. So he develops his knight, and now I play this move bishop to e7. So in the Caro Kann, usually you want to develop your bishop to either e7 or d6. Usually you wouldn't really want to, let's say, bring it to b4 where you just think, okay, you're attacking this knight, because usually you want to keep it stable and solid, so you don't want to be trading off your bishops, because you do want to keep some defense for your kingside. So he plays d3, which brings out his dark square bishop. Now he has ideas to bring his bishop to g5 to attack my knight. And I castle, and okay, he plays bishop to f4, keeping control of this long diagonal. Now I could play bishop to d6, but I instead play queen to b6 to attack this pawn. So another common idea is whenever they bring out their dark square bishop, right, this pawn will no longer be defended, so you always have this queen idea. And the reason this works is because you basically got rid of this pawn on the c file, right? Because if we go back all the way to the beginning, right, the idea of the Caro Kann is to get rid of this c pawn, right, to open up this file. So now your queen can come in, your rooks can come in, and basically you're going to put pressure on your opponent's queen side, right? That's the whole idea of the Caro Kann. If you're under 1000 Elo, I've got a beginner to 1000 Elo course inside my Skool community. It's designed to help you stop making simple mistakes and improve faster. Link in the description below. Back, right, so I bring my queen to b6 to attack this pawn. And of course he defends it by going b3. Now he could have went knight here, but I honestly don't think that is too good, because yeah, I could just go here and then fork both his bishop and knight, and basically wherever he moves, like either one, I'm just going to take the other one. So yeah, that's why he played b3. But this creates a little bit of problems, because pushing this pawn on b3, it kind of weakens this knight here, because now there's nothing defending this knight. And now in general, his dark squares are going to be weak, because now I can potentially bring my bishop here, attack his rook, and put more pressure on him. So yeah, that's what I do. I bring my bishop to b4. Now this was a little bit of an inaccuracy, but honestly I don't really see too much like wrong with that, because like I'm just developing my bishop, putting pressure on his knight. Stockfish does recommend me to bring my rook to d8. Like, sure, I think it's okay as well, but I just don't think, like, from a practical standpoint, that's really gonna do anything, you know. So I go bishop to b4, putting pressure on the knight, and he drops it back. And now I have a few ideas. Yeah, so now I play rook to d8, and my idea is to just like stabilize this square so that potentially I could bring my bishop back and then trade off the dark square bishops. Remember, as a Caro Kann player, you're pretty happy with trading things off, because you already have this open c file that you can put pressure on, so you're going to be fine with trading off pieces. Now he kicks away my bishop with c3, and yeah, now I drop it back to d6 and I'm asking for the trade. And here he goes bishop to g5, putting pressure on my knight. Now whenever he puts pressure on your knight and nothing is guarding it, you generally want to bring your bishop back to e7 like I did, because if you don't, let's say you play something like a6, then once he takes your knight, right, you have this open file and you have double pawns, so potentially he could go like queen here, maybe he can like reroute his stuff, and then like, yeah, basically put pressure on your open king. That's pretty dangerous, right? So that's why you always want to bring your bishop back, and if he takes, right, then you can just take back with the bishop and nothing's really happening, right, it's fine. And he goes queen c2, and I think the idea is to play d4 so that potentially he can open up this diagonal for his queen, and also to add more protection to this pawn. And here I go knight to e5. So my idea with knight to e5 is to simply take this bishop, right? Because once I take this bishop, he will take, and then he will have double pawns, and then I can have this open sort of file for like whatever to come in and put pressure on him. And he goes knight here, which is pretty logical. The idea being, if I take the bishop, then he'll just take with the knight, and he's still very solid here. Now, because I don't want to just help him like keep his structure solid, I don't really want to take this bishop, because once he takes back, right, let's say once I take and he takes, he does have this knight move, which is a little bit annoying because I can't actually kick his knight away. I could go bishop here, but then this hangs and then he can just take and double my pawns, so I don't really want to allow that. That's why I go h6 to just sort of ask this bishop, like, what are you doing? Are you going to take me? If you take, then I can just like become very solid, keep taking my bishop. So he drops it back, and now I go knight to g6. So now, right, he is attacking my knight, which is undefended, so obviously I have to move it. And then if I move it to g6, I also attack his bishop back, so it's pretty good. Now he drops it back to h2. So this bishop is a little bit good because it controls this long diagonal. So now I can't go knight here, and I can't really like do much with these squares because his bishop is doing a very good job. And I can't go queen here, of course, I can't go queen here. And potentially he could have ideas down the line. And now I go bishop to c5 to sort of attack his knight. So if he doesn't do anything, then I can just take, and then take, and I win a pawn. And here he thinks for a pretty long time. I don't know what he was doing, but like he thinks for a very long time, and he goes b4. And at this point, I'm not really sure what happened, because pretty sure this just hangs a pawn. Because after takes, and takes, I win a pawn, and I'm also threatening this pawn. And now I have ideas of going knight to f4, attacking this pawn, which is only defended once, right? And then if he trades, then I'm perfectly fine with that. So I take the knight, he takes back, and I take the pawn, right? And basically at this point, he wasted all of his time, and he eventually got flagged. So I'm not really sure what happened there. Like, you can see the timer, right? He went from, so at this point he was 8 minutes. He had 8 minutes, and then he spent like 5 minutes, and he was down to 3 minutes 59 seconds. And then I took this knight, he took back, I took back. Then he spent another 3 minutes to make this rook move. So I'm not really sure what that does, right? Because like, once again, my pawn structure is so solid here, he can't really do anything, right? This rook is just staring into nothing. And even if he like sacks, like, it doesn't really matter, right? Because nothing can actually enter. So yeah, then I take this pawn, and he ran out of time. But basically the whole idea, right, was to attack this knight twice, right, with my bishop and knight, with my bishop and queen. And once he makes this b4 move, that just hangs a pawn. So I can just take. Now I'm threatening this pawn. Now I have knight ideas like this, and I'm gonna bring my rook in, attack his queen, right? Bring my other rook in, stack up the rooks, and just infiltrate into his position. So hopefully this video gave you a very nice idea of how to navigate the Caro Kann as a beginner, and also hopefully by now you understand the general ideas, right? The key principles, as I said, are you want to just always pin this knight, of course, right, so that they can't move it. And just a quick note, if they ever try to push you, like if they ever try to play h3, then you can just take the knight. Like, it doesn't really matter. You activate their queen, but it doesn't matter because your pawn structure is so solid, they can't actually do anything here. Then you can just develop your knights, your bishops, a castle, and then everything's fine. And the second lesson is that you want to, like, whenever they bring the dark square bishop out, right, this undefends this pawn, so you can always just go queen b6, right? That's always an option for you. And then once they defend it, then you can sort of like try to pin this knight, or not really pin, but like attack it, and bring your rook to d8, right? And basically you could bring a rook to c8 as well to have this open file, or if you want to play more defensively, you can bring it to d8, right? Idea of being, you can always drop your bishop back and it will be protected. And whenever, the last lesson is whenever they attack your knight, you have to bring a bishop back to e7 to actually protect it, because if you don't do it, then after they take, you're going to end up with double pawns, and this won't actually be good for you. Like, and the evaluation bar says it's like 0-0, but like it says it's equal, but the thing is, like, from a practical standpoint, this is going to be pretty tough to actually like equalize, because this pawn is weak, right? This pawn's weak, so the knight can just jump in here, attack this pawn, the queen can come in here, give you a check, right? You have to move it, and it's going to be very tough to actually defend from a practical standpoint. That's why you should always bring a bishop back to e7 if they ever threaten to take this knight, so that if they take, right, you're completely fine. The pawns are still in front of your king, right? You have control over this diagonal, so that you can't move this pawn. And basically that's just like what you should do. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, where I explain the Caro Kann from a practical standpoint. And yeah, once they blundered the pawn, then you can just take the knight, win a pawn. And from this point, yeah, you've got all sorts of ideas. Taking this pawn, bringing a knight here, bringing a rook here, attack the queen, infiltrating here to take this pawn, bringing your other rook in. You can even potentially expand on the queen side with these pawns. And yeah, it's just a very nice position to have. So I hope this video gave you a good idea of the Caro Kann defense. If you enjoyed this, Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.